With the way Marvel's been churning out content with Disney Plus, you'd think they'd compromise quality for quantity. Well, not with Moon Knight. The show's still going strong even after its finale, and fans are hoping to see more of it. Mohamed Diab, the co-director, revealed a few things about the show's writing process that'll surprise you. In this video, we'll be telling you all about the struggles in the Moon Knight writer's room. First off, it was a conflict between Steven and Marc. It might not seem like it to us viewers, but writing a TV show is no easy task. You have a bunch of talented writers trying their best to create a show that aligns with their vision. There's characters, events, and timelines to consider. It's no surprise that show creators really go through a lot of hardships. All of this to bring quality TV to our screens, and Moon Knight is no different. Believe it or not, the most challenging part wasn't incorporating Egyptian mythology into the show. Okay, yes, it was pretty tough, picking and choosing elements that align with the comics and the lore, but not as hard as something else. The biggest challenge was actually dealing with Marc Spector and Steven Grant's polar opposite personalities. In Marvel Studios' Assembled, The Making of Moon Knight, we get to see a glimpse into what the process was like behind the scenes. Portraying a character with multiple personality disorder was definitely not easy and had to be handled with a lot of sensitivity. Mohamed Diab reveals that writing the darker part of Steven Grant was the hardest. You'd expect Jake Lockley to be a challenging character, but actually, it was Marc. It's easier to write characters that lean towards either black or white. Marc Spector's a really complex character who lies in the middle of Steven and Jake. Here's what the creators thought of Marc Spector. Co-helmer Justin Benson calls Spector the more savage side of Steven. He's like all his carnal, violent desires that Steve would normally suppress. The producers really dove deep into the world of psychology as well, because Benson describes Spector as Steven's id. For those who don't know, your id is basically all your most primal, uninhabited urges. Spector is the version of Steven at his most unfeeling, his most violent. He craves revenge. It's very different from the meek tour guide at the British Museum we started out with. Diab also revealed that they had concerns about how audiences would react to Spector. According to him, Steven's very easy to digest as a character. You see him and you have an idea of what to expect. Marc Spector, on the other hand, is a little more grim and menacing. Not only were they afraid Spector would come off too scary, but less likable too. Diab says that they grappled with Spector's intensity. He's not the kind of character you'd immediately feel sympathy for, unlike Steven. They were all pretty worried that people won't be able to connect to Spector as much as they would with Steven. Steven himself is such a lovable character. To have his stark opposite within himself was really hard to write. And now, what it was like to film Marc Spector's scenes. The crew really gave this production their all and have a lot to say about it. Co-director Aaron Moorhead jumped in with info about what it was like to actually see Spector's character in action. Writing a character and then having an actor embody them well is a tricky situation. Luckily, Oscar Isaac delivered a heck of a performance. Moorhead said that the atmosphere changed completely when Isaac shifted from Steve to Marc Spector. The first time they shot a Marc Spector scene, it was like all the air was sucked out of the set. That's how tense it was, according to Moorhead. If Spector scared you on screen, imagine what the other cast and crew felt watching him live. Diab also makes it clear that even though all of them struggled like crazy, they did end up handling the characters pretty well. Of course, the proof is in the pudding. In this case, the pudding is Moon Knight, and we'd be lying if we said it wasn't pretty darn good. Honestly, it's pretty understandable for creators to get stuck in situations like this. Adapting characters with decades worth of backstory is pretty difficult, especially if it's for a TV show. You've got a limited number of episodes. You've got to keep so many things in mind. Stuff like suspense, build-up, direction, all of it. The writer's room of any TV show seriously needs to be credited more. They're real superheroes too. That being said, it's super cool to see the gears in the creators' heads work. The decisions they had to make with Marc Spector impacted the entire plot of the show. That's a pretty big job if you ask us. Maybe Spector's darkness in the Moon Knight series was meant to show how eager he was to break away from Khonshu. All the childhood trauma and disillusionment was addressed, and in a very tasteful, profound way. It's also worth wondering if their journey with Marc is what led to the focus on Steven Grant. When he realized that he was an alternate personality, man, that blew everyone's mind. Not to mention Jake Lockley's reveal in the post-credits scene. Now for some other Marvel news you may have missed. First up, the writers had different plans for Scarlet Witch. After watching Multiverse of Madness, it's impossible to imagine Scarlet Witch as anyone but herself. Elizabeth Olsen really made that role her own. You'll be surprised to know that she wasn't always going to be the main villain against Doctor Strange. Writer Michael Waldron reveals that originally, Scarlet Witch was supposed to be a villain in Avengers 5 before anything else. Sure, she's always been the black sheep of the heroes, but Doctor Strange 2 fully cemented her role as the bad guy, which turned out to be a second decision actually. Waldron explains his decision like this. Wanda was already a villain in Age of Ultron. She'd seen enough of that character arc in an Avengers movie. They decided to place her evil role in another movie. It does make you wonder though, had they made Wanda a threat to the Avengers, what would her character evolve into? Seeing her be corrupted by the Darkhold and wreak havoc in Multiverse of Madness was insane, of course, but to imagine she could have been an even bigger villain? Whew. Next, there's a possibility Tom Cruise joins the MCU as Iron Man. Yes, we know RDJ is darn near irreplaceable, but not to worry folks, there's been rumors flying around about Cruise's supposed entry into the world of Marvel, but in a different way than you think. Looking back at Doctor Strange 2, we were introduced to the MCU's Illuminati. The cast was pretty impressive, consisting of John Krasinski and Patrick Stewart. Before the movie, people suspected Cruise to show up as Iron Man. Sadly, that didn't happen, but fans have reason to believe Cruise will join later as a twisted, evil version of Iron Man. Hear us out. Geekosity magazine suspects that Cruise will star in an upcoming adaptation of Secret Wars. This is a series in the comics where all the superheroes we know and love have evil counterparts, so it's pretty valid to expect someone else to fill the role of evil Iron Man, since Tony Stark tragically died in Endgame. Cruise declined the offer to play Iron Man back in 2004. Maybe he's more partial to the role now, who knows? Only time will tell, and once we get updates on Secret Wars, we'll find out whether Cruise is in or out. And finally, the director of Captain America 4 is revealed. We have to say that Sam Wilson's performance as Captain America blew us away. Fans yearned for more of the new Captain America after seeing Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And of course, Marvel delivers. They're really hitting a stride with the content here. They've been producing one film after another. Do they ever get tired or what? Well, apparently not. They're coming in fast, strong, and hot. The upcoming Captain America movie will be directed by none other than Julius Ona. For the record, Ona's directed movies like The Cloverfield Paradox and Luca, so we can definitely expect some tension and heat in this movie. When talking about Sam Wilson, the producers are pretty excited for him. He's nothing like Steve Rogers. He's not indestructible. He's not a superhuman soldier. That's what sets him apart. He's more like Rocky in this movie, the underdog who has to fight for his place in the world. It just adds to the heroism of it all. Sam Wilson trying his absolute best. This is a really fresh take on Captain America, and we're all pretty excited to see how it plays out. Plus, his chemistry with the Winter Soldier is also just a bonus. We're hoping to see more of that in the next Captain America movie. Right now, the movie's in its baby stages. Let's wait and see what's in store. Well, that's all for today's video, folks. What do you think of the way Moon Knight writers portrayed Marc Spector? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. See you in the next one.